Okay, so Niantic announced that live events in Pokémon GO are going to be making their return, and it's been met with a lot of mixed reactions from the community. Now, I do have my own personal opinions regarding this. I do think that live events should eventually return to Pokémon GO, considering that they do bring a lot of positive energy to Pokémon GO and its community, but I do think there is a proper time and place to do so. I'm going to be talking about all of that in today's video. Let's roll the intro and get right into it. And how's it going, everyone? It's me, it's Count here with a brand new Pokemon Go video. Today I'm going to be talking about Niantic's most recent announcement that live events are once again returning to Pokemon Go. It's been quite some time since we've been experiencing lockdowns and all of this stuff that has prevented us from enjoying Pokemon Go to its fullest, but it looks like because there has been more vaccines and because people are just in general a lot more safe than they were a year ago, it seems like Niantic is ready to pull the trigger and release live events once again. Now, when I talk about live events, I'm talking about big events that are like Pokemon Go Fest and the Safari Zones. It looks like all of these things are making a return to Pokemon Go. Of course, for the last year, we've been enjoying in-game rewards and in-game bonuses, and of course, with big events like these, they've been doing kind of like an all in-game format, so it doesn't matter if you live in Tokyo or in Illinois, you will be able to participate in these sort of events through the game itself. As much as I really enjoyed that format and I wish it would continue, I still miss the live event format. I think there is something special about having all trainers around the world converge on one particular city for a big special event. Of course, the pandemic is still raging on in certain countries, so I do think Niantic has to be very careful with these live events, and maybe they could have limited capacity, limited ticket sales. I just don't know how they could pull it off while being safe, considering that we are not 100% out of the woods with the pandemic. Of course, when it comes to cities in the United States, a lot of lockdowns and a lot of restrictions are currently being lifted, so it makes sense that if they were to have these live events, they would start with US cities. And it seems like that's exactly what they are doing. When it comes to the Safari Zones that were scheduled for last year, it looks like Niantic is planning to make up these events sometime this year, which means we are going to have live Safari Zones in places like St. Louis and Philadelphia. Now, a lot of players have been speculating whether or not these Safari Zones would ever make a return, but it looks like they actually are, and Niantic confirmed it. I'm very curious to see what the logistics are going to be for these live events. I mean, when it comes to Philadelphia and St. Louis, to my knowledge, I believe these cities are starting to ramp down on their restrictions, so by the time that these live events happen, it's likely that both of these cities will be safe. But I'm not entirely sure if that's going to be the case, and I know Niantic is probably not sure as well. There is a high chance that if there is a second wave of this virus, that Niantic will actually hold off on having live events until at least next year. But for the time being, it looks like live events are going to be making their return into Pokemon Go, and like I mentioned at the top of this video, there is a lot of mixed reactions. Now, lately it seems like Niantic has been facing a big problem with the community. It seems like no matter what they do, the community is never happy with Niantic, and I'm wondering if some of these mixed reactions is just another case of that. I know a lot of people have been commenting on this announcement saying that Niantic just simply does not care about the pandemic. That is actually very far from the truth, considering that they've been reformatting the game to allow players to play remotely from home, and of course they've been implementing a lot of features and a lot of bonuses and gearing up their events so that players do not have to step outside. If you recall, we used to have 3-hour community days, and it was highly encouraged that you actually go to certain locations. But nowadays it seems like community days are a completely different format. There's a lot of emphasis on just staying at home and using your incense, and of course they did extend the period to about 6 hours, which allows players ample amount of time to collect shinies. And I think that's actually going to stay in Pokemon Go, because how jarring would it be if they were to go back to the 3-hour format? And for a lot of the in-game bonuses, those have been extended out as well, at least until I believe the end of this month, and I'm really hoping that Niantic continues those bonuses like it's just something that has absolutely been necessary. Like I said before, there are certain countries that are still suffering from the pandemic, so for Niantic to take away these bonuses would be very short-sighted. I really do think that Niantic is fully aware that a majority of their players are still experiencing lockdowns, so I really hope they do consider just keeping these bonuses around at least for another 6 months. I mean, it's a matter of time will tell, right? Like, we don't know how things are going to be 6 months from now. I mean, that's probably when they're planning to do these live events. I mean, I'm predicting that they're going to be around the fall of this year or even the springtime of next year. I do think that Niantic is fully aware of the situation around the world, and they're keeping a very close eye on it. Maybe we'll see a huge uptick in vaccinations around the world, and that's going to make it a lot safer to have these events. And maybe we're going to start seeing more live events start popping up. I've been saying this for a while now, but when it comes to Pokemon Go Fest, for example, which is their landmark event every year, I really do think that Niantic is clamoring to make this a live event once again, considering how much positivity, how much buzz it generates for the game, especially when you have it in a big city like Chicago every year. I do think that Niantic is working towards that. I just don't know if there is a proper timetable for when it's actually going to happen. But for now, it looks like Pokemon Go Fest is going to be completely in-game just like last year, and I'm pretty happy about that. I mean, it was actually pretty fun last year, even though we were not actually gathering in a specific location. And I really do think that Niantic is onto something here. Maybe they will have one big special event every year that's going to be in-game like that. I mean, recently we had the Kanto Tour event, and that was a smashing success, so I can see them doing something where they have a couple of live events like Safari Zones and Pokemon Go Fest, and then they have a whole bunch of big in-game events that are completely remote, like the Kanto Tour event. We'll just have to wait and see. I'm really excited to see what Niantic has in store, but I know there's a lot of players out there who are upset by this news, considering that they are still suffering lockdowns. I would actually like to hear from you, because I haven't really heard much from that perspective, considering that where I live, lockdowns have started to get lifted. So I'm really curious to know what the other side of the world is thinking about all of this stuff. I mean, if it were me that was still in a country that's still in lockdown, I would be pretty upset, and it would make me feel like Niantic is only catering to the Western audience, more specifically the United States. And yeah, I mean, naturally that will likely happen, considering that the United States is a very big market for Pokemon Go, and it is where Niantic is located, so naturally there's going to be a bit of bias there, but still, I do think Niantic is doing their best to try to cater to all players around the world, although some players will disagree with me on that. But regardless, that is going to be it for this video. I just wanted to share my thoughts regarding this whole thing, but I would love to know yours, so definitely share them down below. And real quick, I want to give a big shout out to GOOZEE Pins. They created the official Count Jinsula pin. If you want to snag one of these pins for your own, definitely check out the link in the description below. It's a really cool pin, and it's really well designed, so make sure you go and pick one of those up. So yeah, that's gonna be it. I'm Count Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, and I'll catch you all later.